We could not have the kind of hopes and dreams that we do for the university without the kind of commitment of alumni like those we honor this evening. The 6 people that we honor tonight represent the very best of Georgetown.
Georgetown has been a real incubator for my life choices and my opportunities.
I was a kid from Wyoming who had my horizons expanded once I went to Georgetown, and that's something that's always stayed with me.
The most important thing that Georgetown provided me with was a sense of community in science, and that's what really drove us forward with everything we've done.
Thank you for everything you've given me. I feel so fortunate that I'm able to give back to you.
Georgetown is very special to me. The education that I got, the friendships that I've made have endured to this time.
Georgetown is it. Without it, my life would have been dramatically different. It's something that I hold dear to my heart, and I can never leave it. It'll never leave me.
Born and raised in New Jersey, Dick Schlegel studied at nearby Rutgers University, then earned an MD and Ph.D. in microbiology from Northwestern. Dick worked his way up to a senior position at the NIH. It was safe, it was tenured, but something was missing, and Georgetown was recruiting faculty.
I really got enthusiastic and came down here and interviewed, and it doesn't take long to appreciate what you've missed. Things are much more alive in terms of people around here.
I first knew Dick when I first came to Georgetown, and he was in the pathology department and I was in pharmacology. He's always been somebody who's always terribly interested in what you're doing, and he always wants to know what's happening. He's always willing to help.
There were investigators at Georgetown, Bennett Jensen's laboratory, who worked on papillomaviruses. The first thing that Bennett did was to try and convince me to work on a vaccine. Sinji Gim was a postdoc working in Bennett's lab, and she took some constructs that she made and she put it in the appropriate cells and did a fluorescence image, and these nuclei just lit up this intense fluorescent green color, and that's when we knew it would work.
He's really an outstanding scientist. He's internationally recognized for the work that he's done. He's got to the holy grail where we all try and get to that point where you can say, I've actually made a difference.
I can't explain how satisfying it is. People will not only acknowledge it, but thank me for the fact that, that they're able to vaccinate their daughters. Now we're studying the whole process of cell immortalization. And in fact, I think probably the next 5 or 10 years of our research, we're going to be studying ways to grow human cells in tissue culture forever. As a pathologist, there's tremendous import to that, because you can take a biopsy of a patient and within a week, identify mutations in those cells and the changes, and also test for chemosensitivity.
You can see that you're going to have the potential for almost individualized medicine on those cells, and I think this is a promising step.
Which are the ones that have the nice size epithelial cells? Probably the pancreatic.
We try and set up in our laboratory is a dialogue between undergraduates, graduates, postdoctoral fellows, and more senior scientists.
He's not one of these people who wants to micromanage students. He wants them to find their field, he wants them to find themselves, and he wants them to do the reading, come up with the ideas.
I tell them, you're not really a scientist until when you wake up in the morning and you take a shower, you're thinking about research. And when you are, then you can graduate.
I mean, we actually are getting ready to do something.
Why have I stayed at Georgetown? It's been the most productive period of my life. I find it a really invigorating place. There's a cooperativity that exists between the scientists here, and that's why we succeed.
Back into it and see if we get the doctoral.
I've been fortunate. I married a scientist. The most important thing to us was that each of our kids ended up in an occupation that consumed their lives, that they really loved.
I don't think Dick's days are done yet. I think he's going to keep going.
Seiji Ozawa, when he came to Boston and became the conductor of the Boston Symphony, they asked him, what do you really want to accomplish? And he said, I want to make good music. And I read that and I thought, that's a really stupid remark, isn't it? For someone that, as advanced as this guy, he just wants to make good music. But then when I thought about it myself, I thought, that's all I want to do. I want to make good science. When I found out about the Patrick Healy Award, I was really honored by it, that the Alumni Association knew about our work and understood its impact on society. Was delightful and exhilarating.
Growing up in Bronxville, New York, Mary Taylor Behrens' brother suggested she try out for the track team, and running the 800 was a perfect fit. Eventually, Mary's path led south to the Hilltop and an athletic scholarship.
I got recruited to go to Georgetown, and I was very fortunate to get a scholarship to attend. My sister, who was a class behind me, also came to Georgetown to run track. I would not have attended Georgetown without that scholarship, so that scholarship was very instrumental for me, my sister, and my family for us going there. I think the one thing about track is it kept me really focused. You had very limited amount of time, so you had to run and then you had to go do your studies. And it kept you efficient, it kept you focused, and it kept you out of trouble.
Mary was a legendary track athlete, first of all. She was also a strong student. And she applied that same determination to the track that she did in everything else that she's done her whole life.
I interviewed on campus and I got a job working on Wall Street right out of school at Chase Manhattan Bank. After about 6 years, I interviewed at Merrill Lynch, and that's where I ended up spending the majority of my career on Wall Street. I worked there for 19 years. I went to run HR for the firm for Merrill Lynch, and then they asked me to run the asset management business.
Mary's a tremendous role model for women because she built a career on Wall Street, especially at a time when that was a very difficult thing for women to do.
After that, I decided it was probably best if I stay home with my 2 boys who were growing up. I wanted to be closer to them and be more in touch with what they were doing. One of the things that made retiring really easy for me was knowing that I was going to be a regent. I was on the Board of Regents for 7 years, and they asked me to run the athletics committee.
Mary's job as chairman of athletics was to get the strongest committee that she could. So she was in my face on a regular basis to get her people onto the Board of Regents. And when you see that kind of determination in someone, you know that they're going to be just as successful as a volunteer as they are in business.
It was so great to be able to reconnect with Georgetown and meet new friends that were not classmates, but people that were heavily involved with Georgetown, and find out how people across all disciplines were making an impact at Georgetown. And it really helped me focus on where I would like to make an impact at Georgetown. I decided to make it athletics, as that was a real passion of mine, and that's what allowed me to go to Georgetown in the first place. The first thing we did was to endow the women's track coaching position, and when we completed that, the new focus with the university was scholarships. We'll be able to give a scholarship to a woman track runner in perpetuity. The woman now who has my scholarship, she just got second at nationals in cross country. It made our family really proud.
Mary's a lifer for Georgetown. Her commitment to this school began the day that she got her own athletic scholarship. And she has never forgotten that. She's looked back on it and remembered all that Georgetown has done for her, first as a student and then, frankly, as a volunteer.
My husband's Chris Behrens, and we met at Chase Manhattan Bank, and we've started dating and then got married and been together ever since. My kids feel very connected to the university, and they know all the Hoyas by name. We watch every single game. It's been a really nice rallying point for our family.
When Georgetown has called, Mary has said, sure, what do you need? There are others that will do that, but I don't think with as much determination and passion and frankly skill as Mary has applied to her years working for Georgetown.
I'm very honored and very humbled to get this John Carroll Award, really. When they called me, I was brought to tears. It implies that you have a lifelong service and dedication to Georgetown, and it's something that I just feel really proud to have.
Phil Inglima's father was the mayor of Paramus, New Jersey, until Phil drove him out of politics by asking if the ever-present campaign manager was his new daddy. Still, Phil grew up thinking about a career in law, and Georgetown captured his attention.
I came down for a weekend and just fell in love immediately with Georgetown. Walking through Healy Gates was a really searing impression on me. It was everything I had thought college would be like. Monday morning went in and put my money down and said, this is where I want to be.
I first met Phil spring of his freshman year, Problem of God course. And I like to kid him to this day, the final essay. It started ever since the beginning of humankind. And I thought, this guy knows a lot, you know? I said, well, at least you started with humankind, not creation. That would have really taken a lot of work.
Probably the most impressive and formative experience for me at Georgetown was being an RA. There was a camaraderie about it and a sense of giving back to the underclassmen.
From my perspective, it was like putting the fox in charge of the hen house, you know?
When I decided ultimately to go to Georgetown for law school, one of the key things was the clinical programs. One of the lead ones was the Juvenile Justice Clinic. That was one of the greatest examples of the Jesuit influence at the Law Center, this notion that lawyers are not just servants of the law, they have a role to play in helping change lives. I had gotten in the habit of looking to Tim Healy for professional guidance, and Tim connected me with Judge June Green. And so I left Georgetown Law and went just down the block to the U.S. District Court. When I finished clerking for Judge Green, I applied to what was then a new boutique criminal defense practice headed by Plato Kacharis. I got tremendous benefit from it, had trials and lots of courtroom experience early in my career. Georgetown became sort of the North Star for me, and it was just natural to always be returning here. I have been involved in the Alumni Association for many years, first as a volunteer for my class, and then worked on reunions and committees to help revamp the DC Club, and eventually got involved in the Board of Governors.
I was thrilled when Phil was willing to get involved because he brings a lot of talent and savvy to it, but also a lot of energy and a certain human warmth. You look at things like taking the organization globally, the work in career services. That has been remarkable.
For the past several years, I've been teaching one course a year at the Law Center. It's a class in federal white-collar crime. It's a great chance to really connect with students on a very direct level. Georgetown has played a big role in our family life, too. Liz and I met as undergrads. We got married at Holy Trinity Church.
I've been fortunate enough to witness his wedding vows. I've been baptizing their children. It's been really a privilege for me.
All three of our kids, they all love going to basketball games with us.
Both Elizabeth and Phil are deeply committed Hoyas, and you can't be around them long without realizing that.
The most important thing for me is that we are making opportunities possible for another generation of Georgetown students. Trying to encourage those students to live for others and get involved and give back to Georgetown.
I've known many who've gotten this award wonderfully worthy, and certainly Phil is among them, most deserving.
I remember my first John Carroll Weekend. The people receiving this award were icons of Georgetown. So I'm very humbled and I'm very appreciative and feeling a little bit less worthy, but I hope that it will help provide some example to others of what their sustained alumni involvement and commitment to the university can mean.
Born in Casper, Wyoming, Mary Margaret McKeown was a first-generation college student at the University of Wyoming. After graduating Phi Beta Kappa, she followed her interest in law to Washington, D.C., where one dessert would change her life forever.
What got me to law school was a hot fudge sundae. I went to Washington, D.C., and went to visit one of my senators, Senator Clifford P. Hansen. He took me to the Senate dining room, bought me a hot fudge sundae, and we sat down and he explained to me how laws were made. And I thought the whole process was so fascinating.
She came to work for her senator here in Washington. And that was sort of her first taste of there's a world in which you can make a difference.
Being in Washington, D.C., I became familiar with Georgetown, so that became my goal. I'd love to go to Georgetown. I was fortunate enough to be in the Georgetown Criminal Justice Clinic, which for me was really a defining experience. And I had 4 jury trials before I left law school. When I got to law practice, I was comfortable in the courtroom.
She was the first woman to make partner in her law firm, Perkins Coie. She was the first woman to be put on the executive committee in her firm.
With hard work, a little bit of humor, and making clear women have a place at the table, I was able to integrate myself into high-level corporate law practice. I had a lot of clients over time, ranging from the Boeing company to a number of the early dot-com companies. But one client sticks in my mind. It was a pro bono client named Earl, who was a World War II veteran. He had a number of problems with the Veterans Administration, with his Social Security, with his medical needs. He really brought home to me the notion that there's a humanity about the law.
She may not look like everybody's stereotype of the stern judge, but she's something better because she has maintained her humanity. And I can't think of anybody I'd rather have making a decision in the courtroom for me.
I feel fortunate to be a federal judge in the United States. Antitrust cases, environmental cases, employment cases, criminal law cases, all of these really are a cross-section of what's going on in society. It is a particular privilege to be part of that process.
Chief Justice Roberts asked her to chair the committee for all the federal judges on ethics. Now that's a pretty clear statement of how her peers think about her.
Separate calendars this month, correct? Yes. Yeah. In the same way that Georgetown gave me an opportunity, I feel it's important to give back. So I work on a continuous basis with the Girl Scouts. I'm the craft counselor at a camp for children with cancer. I also have been a member of the Board of Visitors of the law school.
We went through a dean search last spring, and she made time to be part of the alumni group that met with the final candidates.
I've also worked a lot with students who want to go to law school. Anyone who calls, anyone who emails, I'm happy to talk to. We actually are a double Hoya family. My husband is a graduate of the School of Foreign Service, and we are the proud parents of Haruka, who is a recent graduate of the University of Chicago.
It's a life that we admire for all that she does as a lawyer, as a judge, as a volunteer. She brings honor to Georgetown every day. We're the better for all the time she gives to us.
Receiving the John Carroll Award is a singular honor at Georgetown. To see all the other people who've received it over the years, I think just gives you a sense of the breadth and commitment of graduates of Georgetown. We're everywhere, and it's nice to be among them.
Paul Pelosi was raised in the Marina District of San Francisco, and his father, who left Italy for South America by himself at the age of 13, was his role model. Paul inherited that spirit of adventure. He wanted to see the world, and that journey began at Georgetown.
My interest was to go to the East Coast and go to the best school, the most interesting school I could find. When I saw Georgetown and I saw the Foreign Service School, I thought that was a great combination.
I've known Paul for over 50 years. We knew each other in high school. We came to Georgetown together, we roomed together. He was a good athlete, he was a track star, he was a basketball player, and he was always quite a ladies' man.
Nancy and I started dating the summer before our senior year. She was over at Trinity College. She came over to Georgetown and took a course. I loved my Georgetown experience. I knew that I was getting a great education. I knew that it was giving me a tremendous set of tools to take forward. I went to Citibank. I was there for about 7 or 8 years, and I got a tremendous offer to go out to San Francisco in the early 70s. That was really when the revolution was starting to take place in the banking area where I had been, in venture capital, in technology. It was all really gearing up at that time.
He started his own computer leasing business, and that really started him on his career as an entrepreneur. And he's been involved in the real estate business, he's involved in the restaurant business, he's also been involved in the football business.
What inspires me is to do new things, to be innovative, and to watch things grow. On almost a dare, I started doing some musical theater as charity. People said, "You'll do what? We'll pay money to come see that." I've done some weird characters like a thug from Las Vegas or Rod Stewart. It's funny because it's such a throwback to what I was doing back when I was a young Hoya.
I don't think there's a week in any year that's gone by in the close to 50 years since he's graduated from Georgetown that he hasn't been doing something for Georgetown. It's been very influential, whether it's interviewing students, whether it's working on the Board of Regents, whether it's chairing the School of Foreign Service, or whether it's just hosting a forum. When Paul went to Georgetown, there was a weaker presence of Georgetown in California. Paul's been able to play a very key role in bringing San Francisco to Georgetown, but also bringing Georgetown to San Francisco. Today, the California presence in terms of alumni is probably the third largest. It is appropriate that at the time he's being honored, it be done in San Francisco.
This is the third time John Carroll has come to San Francisco in the 40 years that I've been back. We were excited to have it in San Francisco. Our idea was to really show off San Francisco. We want to show what San Francisco offers and how much Georgetown is involved, and Georgetown people are involved in this technological revolution which has been taking place for the last 20 years. We really are a Georgetown family since 3 of our 5 children went there, and my wife has an honorary degree from there. And I'm sure several of our 8 grandchildren would like to be coming here in the future as well.
But the John Carroll Awards were something other than paying tribute to Paul, but also having it be set a standard for others to aspire to. And he's the poster boy for what John Carroll would want as a Georgetown alumnus.
Having been involved in Georgetown for over 50 years, I realize what a coveted award the John Carroll is. So of course I'm honored to be a recipient. Everybody gets excited or nostalgic walking through those Healy gates. Coming back here for these board meetings, meeting these new students that are doing such spectacular things. They are so talented and so diverse. It's just wonderful to watch this new generation.
Mike Vespoli grew up in Orange, Connecticut, working at the family grocery store. As a class treasurer and yearbook staffer at Amity Regional High School, Mike applied to Georgetown with very high hopes, but he didn't get the answer he'd hoped for.
I applied and was rejected.
He made up his mind that he really wanted to come to Georgetown, so he got a no, and he got on a train, came down here.
I just knocked on Father Sweeney's door in the admissions office. And Lord knows why, but he had let me come in and talk to him. I was convinced that I could show them why they should have me here, and I guess I did. My life certainly would have been different, because the schools I applied to didn't have rowing, and that's the tangent my life took, and it was because of the opportunity here at Georgetown.
I came to Georgetown Mike's junior year to coach the crew. He was just one of the guys, one of a team of 20. But Mike was a good competitor, had good work ethic. Junior year, we lost in the championship to Marietta by the slimmest of margins.
And that was a pretty bitter pill to swallow. We came back with a renewed sense of purpose our senior year.
And we got to the championship, and it gets a little nerve-wracking, and the freshmen lose, and the second varsity loses, and Mike was clear that we're there, we're gonna, we're focused. And he was, he always was.
Tradition is, if you win, you get your opponent's shirt. If you lose, you give up yours. And for 3 years at Georgetown, I gave up more than my share of shirts. When we won in May of 1968, and we collected the shirts from 25 opponents, it was a moment that we could never forget.
When he left Georgetown, he was a teacher at St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia.
While I was doing that and coaching, I was able to row.
Every time I saw him rowing, he was rowing a little better than I'd seen him before.
And I was able to, within that 4 years, make our national team. I won 6 national championships, made the Olympic team, competing right during the teeth of the Soviet East German sports juggernaut. But we worked hard, and we came in 5th. And we were pleased with that, but I wasn't finished. By 1974, we had a really fortuitous year and we won the World Championships. And that to me was the crowning moment in my athletic career. We had become involved in a company. We got one of their new boats, revolutionary boat, brought to this country. I thought, well, perhaps I should build the boats in the United States. Year one, we built 12 boats. My dad helped me. We would work until 2 in the morning. Now we can build 12 boats a week.
The boats are good boats, they're durable. That's helped enormously for the proliferation of rowing. Our 8-oared racing shells and our 4-oared racing shells, which are surrounding me here, are all Vespolis. We're certainly very proud to have the boats.
The crew program needs endowment dollars. They also need some scholarship dollars, so we stepped in both places. One unmet goal for Georgetown that I have, that's to see the crew have their own boathouse. With that building, we could do a lot.
He's been a leader of that, and I have no doubt that that'll go till the boathouse is built.
I love the place unconditionally. You're never going to get rid of me. I'm here and I'm going to do it as long as we can continue to do it. I'm nothing without my family. You have a devoted wife, a wonderful, beautiful child, and family means the most.
Tickled pink that he's receiving this award. I know how meaningful it is to him. It's good. It's good all around for us.
It is absolutely humbling. I am so fortunate to be recognized this way. It is the crowning moment of my personal and professional life.
There's no night quite like tonight. To be able to celebrate together here in San Francisco is a great opportunity for Georgetown. These folks are very special, and this is our night to honor them.